The Constitution of India, Preamble. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves this Constitution.
Hi children, today I am going to begin this session by saying few words on right livelihood. What type of work you do in your life can affect whether it bring happiness or unhappiness. For example, if you are helping others, surely it will bring happiness in your life and you will be leading a good life. But on other hand, the activities which bring unhappiness or problems surely will be leading to unhappy life. So my dear children, always speak honestly, respect others, respect your parents, give love and care to your grandparents, so that when you follow all these things in your life, you will be having a good life and the people surrounding you will also lead a good life. By saying these words, my dear children, I am moving to the session by taking the recap of the previous class. So in the previous class, we understood about the application of biotechnology such as therapeutics, diagnostics, genetically modified crops for agriculture, processed food, isn't it? Waste management, energy production. So these are the applications of biotechnology. And next we understood that in the research area in biotechnology, three areas are important. Number one is catalyst, number two optimum condition and number three downstream processing. And later on we understood that the application related to biotechnology in agriculture for increasing the food production, three options are there: agrochemical based agriculture, organic agriculture, genetically engineered crop based agriculture. And as we know that agrochemicals are expensive to farmers, therefore genetically modified crops were developed. And what do you mean by GMO? That is genetically modified organisms. I think you would have understood about GMO. They are the plants, bacteria, fungi and animals whose genes have been modified. And next we understood the advantages of GM plants, that is increased tolerance, reduced reliance on chemical pesticides, reduced post harvest losses, as well as it shows increased efficiency of mineral usage and enhanced nutrition value of food is being seen in these kind of plants. Next one, creation of tailor-made plants also been made to supply alternative resources such as starch, fuels, pharmaceuticals to industries. So these are the advantages of GM plants. Now the disadvantages also we understood that related to protein production, sometimes it may cause allergy as well as reactions, isn't it? Now based on the application, production of pest resistant plants were developed and they the plants which will be having the amount of pesticides used will be in decreased quantity, and these plants are Bt cotton, Bt brinjal, etc. And later on we understood about Bt cotton, and Bt stands for Bacillus thuringiensis, which is a bacterium, and in this bacterium it produces crystal protein which is also called cryprotein, and they are also known as Bt toxin protein. And these protein they kills insects like lepidopterans as well as coleopterans. And later on we understood that the Bt it forms protein crystals which will be having toxic insecticidal protein, and these Bt toxins they are inactive in the bacteria, but once the insect eats the plant, surely what will happen, the inactive toxin which will be entering into the insect's gut becomes active due to the alkaline pH gut of the insect, and due to that what will happen, the activated toxin binds to the midgut of epithelial cell of the insect, and thus it causes cell swelling as well as lysis, and that will lead to the death of the insect. Now, what are Bt toxin gene? They are also known as cry gene, and these gene they produces Bt toxin, and there are three types of Bt toxin genes: cry 1AC, cry 2AB and cry 3AB. All these are the toxin genes which are controlling the insects, and you can see here this is the figure of Bt cotton and how the production of insect resistant Bt cotton is being obtained, that also we understood in the previous class. Now, the next part we understood that pest resistant plants can also be developed by RNAi, that is RNA interference, and there is a principle behind RNA interference, and the principle is silencing of specific mRNA of the nematode. And it is been said that Melodygyne incognitia is a nematode and it infects the root of tobacco plant. To overcome it, the plant is made pest resistant, and it is been pest resistant by a process called RNAi interference. I think you would have understood about RNAi interference, and related to that steps also we have understood. In the previous class, it has been said that the nematode specific gene Agrobacterium species is there, it will be introduced into the host plant, and there it will produce sense and antisense RNA. Later on a double stranded RNA is formed, and that will be complementary to each other, and this double stranded RNA bind with the specific mRNA of the nematode, thus prevents the translation, and this process is called mRNA silencing, and due to this the nematode would not survive in the host. This is how the RNA interference principle work on the nematode. Now, you can see the diagrammatic representation of the mechanism of RNA interference, which we already discussed in the previous class, and later on we understood about the next topic, that is biotechnological applications in medicine, where we understood about genetically engineered insulin, and we came to know the structure of insulin, that it consists of two short polypeptide chains, chain A and chain B, and they are linked to each other with the help of a disulfide bridge, and the insulin is synthesized as proinsulin in the beginning, or before it matures it is synthesized as hormone or proinsulin, and later on it will be having an extra small C peptide attached to the polypeptide chains A and B, and at the time of maturation of insulin the C peptide is separated, and thus you can see here the mature insulin is produced there, and this is the C peptide chain which is being free from the two chains of insulin. Now, next thing is being said that production of humulin, which is the first insulin produced by an American company E. Lilly in 1983, where they have prepared this insulin by the preparation of 2 DNA sequences, and it is having a chain A and B, and this will be introduced into the plasmid E. coli, and these chains, they will be separated from each other, and later on they will be extracted, and a disulfide bridge is been created between these 2 chains, and thus genetically engineered human insulin is prepared, which is called Humulin. This is the first insulin prepared by this company. You can see the flow chart related to the preparation of Humulin, which already we have discussed in the previous class, isn't it, my dear children? Now we are moving to the next topic in this session, and that is related to the gene therapy, which is also application related to biotechnology in medical field. It has been said that it is a collection of methods that allows correction of a gene defect that has been diagnosed in a child or in an embryo. What is gene therapy? It is a collection of method, and what is happening there in the method? The correction of gene defect is taking place, and it has been taking place after it has been diagnosed in a child or in an embryo. And it has been said that the first clinical gene therapy was given to a 4-year-old girl in 1990 with adenosine deaminase, that is ADA deficiency. So the first gene therapy is given to a 4-year-old girl who is suffering from a deficiency of an enzyme, that is adenosine deaminase, that is ADA. And as I told you, adenosine deaminase is an enzyme crucial for the functioning of immune system. That is, in our body, immune system is functioning, and for the proper functioning of the immune system, adenosine deaminase, which is an enzyme, is very important. It is playing an important role in the functioning of immune system. It causes a failure of immune system. As it is very crucial, surely sometimes what will happen? It causes failure of immune system, and if its deficiency is taking place, what will happen? Failure of immune system will be taking place, and thus causes the death of the person. Now it has been said that it can be cured by 3 methods. Number 1, bone marrow transplantation. Number 2, enzyme replacement therapy, and number 3, using rDNA technology, that is also called recombinant DNA technology, that is gene therapy. So 3 methods are there which can be used to cure this defect. Number 1, bone marrow transplantation. Number 2, enzyme replacement therapy, and number 3, using rDNA technology, that is gene therapy. We can see the steps in gene therapy. First step, it has been said that lymphocytes from the blood of the patient, this lymphocyte is defective. So the lymphocyte from the blood of the patient are grown in a culture medium outside the body. So the lymphocyte from the blood of the patient will be taken, and it will be cultured outside the body of the patient. And second step, a functional ADA-C DNA is then introduced into this lymphocyte by using retroviral vector. So retroviral vector is used there for introducing the functional ADA-C DNA into the deficient or defective lymphocyte of the patient. And the third step has been said that the genetically engineered lymphocytes are subsequently re-injected into the patient. Later on, this genetically engineered lymphocyte will be re-entered, or we can say re-injected into the patient's blood. And the fourth step, it has been said, as the cells have specific lifespan, the patient require periodic infusion of genetically modified lymphocyte. As the lifespan of these cells is very short or to a period of time only it will be active. So, in such cases it has been said that periodic infusion of genetically modified lymphocytes, that is periodically these process should be done in these kind of patients, so that they can be alive or they can live for a longer life. Now, permanent cure for the disease. There is a permanent cure for this disease, and it has been said that it can be achieved by isolating gene from bone marrow cells producing ADA and introducing into the cells at early embryonic stage. So, in the early embryonic stage it can be cured, so that the patient will be very happy and patient will be living a longer life. And here it has been said it can be achieved how? By, it has been said that isolating the gene from the bone marrow, that is the cell which is producing, the bone marrow cell which is producing ADA, this gene, the gene which is being present in the cells producing ADA will be isolated and it will be introduced into the cells, and these cells, they are there in the early embryonic stage, that is when the child in a embryonic stage is there, and when it is been detected in that stage that the child will be maybe suffering from or will be going to suffer from this disease, in the embryonic stage itself this activity or this method is being done, so that a permanent cure for the disease will be given to the patient. And you can see here illustration related to gene therapy. Gene therapy for ADA, SCID. In this case you can see a patient is there and the patient with toxic level of adenosine, deoxyadenosine 2 is there, that is T cells, this is the lymphocytes, it is defective, and this lymphocytes will be taken outside the body and it is been grown there in a cultural medium, and later on what will happen, from the human ADCDNA a part is being taken and it is being introduced into the T cells, and you can see here T cells carry the human ADA cDNA, and later on after the process the corrected ADA gene will be seen there, and later on it will be amplified and it will be infused back into the patient's body, and thus the patient will be recovering very soon and will be leading a normal life. This is how the gene therapy is being done for ADA deficiency which is taking place in the patient. I think, my dear children, you would have understood about gene therapy. Now the third topic is related to the molecular diagnosis. Some techniques used for early diagnosis are, for early diagnosis there are certain techniques which are used there, and they are PCR, already we know that it is polymerase chain reaction. Number 2, recombinant DNA technology, that is genetic engineering, and number 3 is ELISA, that is ELISA, enzyme linked immunosorbent assay. It is important, my dear children, the full form of these names used to ask in the question paper. So, you have to study it nicely. So, these are the 3 techniques which are used for early diagnosis related to the diseases. In that, number 1 is PCR, which is called as polymerase chain reaction. PCR can detect very low amount of DNA and very low concentration of bacteria or virus can be detected by amplification of their nucleic acid by PCR. That is, the bacteria or the virus which is having DNA in it as a genetic material, from them a very low concentration is being taken and it will be amplified by using PCR technique, and thus it will be detected whether there is a symptom of bacteria or virus in the patient body which is leading to the diseases. Here you can see principle of PCR. This is a clinical sample and DNA preparation is being done there. Later on amplification of the target DNA is being done and a probe is prepared there and detection of the disease is being done with the help of PCR. And the next one is uses of PCR. It is used to detect HIV in suspected AIDS patient. Number 2, used to detect mutation in genes in the suspected cancer patients, and it is a technique to identify many genetic disorders. So, through PCR, detecting HIV, detecting mutation in the genes as well as identifying many genetic disorders can be done and the preventive measures can be taken there. Now, next one is the recombinant DNA technology, which is the second method for the molecular diagnosis. Here in this method, a probe. What is a probe? It is a single stranded DNA or RNA tagged with a radioactive molecule. So, with the radioactive molecule there will be a single stranded DNA or RNA, that is called a probe. A probe is used there in this method and it is allowed to hybridize to its complementary DNA in the clones of the cell. Clones of the cells will be there and there this probe will be hybridized to the complementary DNA, and these cells then detect, or we can say the cells which are being hybridized there will be detected by using autoradiography. By using autoradiography, the cells are then detected, and these cells with muted gene will not be observed on the photographic film because the probe was not complementary to the muted gene. So, if the defect is there, if the symptom is there, surely how it has been detected? It has been said that if the cell with mutated gene is there, it will never be observed on the photographic plate, and it has been said that the probe was not complementary to the muted gene. That is why it will not be seen on the photographic plate. In this manner, the symptoms will be detected there. Now, the third is ELISA, that is enzyme linked immunosorbent assay. It is an immunochemical clinical test used to detect antibodies and antigens in a sample by antigen antibody interaction. So, what is ELISA? It has been said that it is an immunochemical clinical test and it is used to detect antibodies as well as antigens, and where it has been used to detect antibodies and antigen by taking a sample of blood where antigen and antibodies, they will be interacting with each other, and through the interaction the test will be conducted and it will be finding out the symptoms of the diseases. And you can see here either the presence of antigen, that is protein or glycoprotein, or the antibodies produced against the pathogen are detected. Either the presence of antigen can be detected or the antibodies produced against the pathogen will be detected, and ELISA test is used to detect HIV in AIDS patient. Here you can see it is a direct method of ELISA and it is an indirect method of ELISA, isn't it? And you can see here and capturing antibodies, target antigen is present here, and later on enzyme linked detection antibodies will be seen, and thus the products will be found out, or it will be found out by using this test. Now, the next topic is related to transgenic animals. So, what are transgenic animals? We can see there animal whose DNA is manipulated to possess and express a foreign gene. In animal whose DNA is being modified so that it can possess as well as it can express the foreign gene. Those animals are known as transgenic animals. Now, reasons for developing transgenic animals. For what reason transgenic animals were developed? We can see number 1, study of normal physiology and development. To study the normal physiology and development of the organism, transgenic animals were developed. It has been said that useful to study gene regulation, their effect on the normal function of the body. So, transgenic animals were used to study the gene regulation as well as their effect on the normal activity of the body. To study this thing, transgenic animals were developed. For example, study of complex growth factors like insulin like growth factors, isn't it? Study of complex growth factors such as insulin like growth factors can be studied by using transgenic animals. Number 2, study of diseases. Transgenic animals are made to serve as models for human diseases. To study the diseases in the human being, it is not so easy. So, to make it easy, transgenic animals are used to study the diseases taking place in the human beings, as these transgenic animals are used as models for human diseases. These models have been developed for many human diseases like cancer, fibrosis, etc. There are many models which have been developed related to human diseases, and certain models are for fibrosis. All these are the diseases. Based on these diseases, transgenic animal are used as model to find out the diseases like cancer, fibrosis, etc. The next one is biological product. The transgenic animals are used for the production of biological products, and example is been given here, human protein, which is also known as alpha antitrypsin. The human protein, which is known as alpha antitrypsin, is used to treat against emphysema, which is a disease. Next, it is used for the treatment of phenylketonuria, that is PKU, cystic fibrosis. So, the human protein which is being produced there by the transgenic animals are used in the treatments such as PKU as well as emphysema. And next one, it has been said that production of human rich protein from transgenic cow Rosi. Rosi is a transgenic cow. From Rosi, protein enriched milk can be produced, and this milk will be giving enough protein for the human being to develop. Next one is related to the vaccine safety. Transgenic mice are used for testing the safety of vaccine before they are used on human. Example, polio vaccine tested on transgenic mice, later on it will be tested on monkey, and then only it will be tested on the human being. This is the process how the vaccine is been introduced into the body of the human being. First it will be tested on transgenic mice, then later on to the monkey, as we know that monkeys are closely related to human beings, and later on it will be tested on the human beings. And next one is chemical safety testing. Transgenic animals are made to carry genes which make them more sensitive to the toxic substances than non-transgenic animals. For chemical safety testing, transgenic animals are more sensitive. So, they are used in the chemical safety testing. And next one, another topic is related to ethical issue. My dear children, till here you would have understood about the molecular diagnosis related to the genetic engineering, and now we are going to understand about ethical issues. The word ethical came from the word or term ethic. Ethic means standard or the principles or the norms, isn't it? For example, there are norms in an organization, there are norms in the society, there are norms in an ecosystem. So, these norms or these standards or these rules, it should be followed there, and if it is not being followed, surely issues will be taking place there, and that is ethical issues. You can see here, genetic modification of organism shows unpredictable results when such organisms are introduced into the ecosystem. If the organism whose gene is being modified there, surely it will be giving unpredictable result when it is being introduced into the ecosystem, and surely that will lead to certain issues there, and due to that Government of India formed the organizations like GEAC, it is important, Genetic Engineering Approved Committee, to decide the validity and safety of GM organisms for public safety. Government of India, they formed organizations like GEAC so that these organizations can decide the validity as well as the safety of GM organism, so that it can be used in the public in a safe way. Now, example is being given there. Rice is being used since thousands of years in Asia's agricultural history, of which a large varieties are in India alone. In the Asia's agricultural history, we know that rice is being used from thousands and thousands of years ago, and in India alone a large varieties of rice is being produced, and among that you can see one of the rice is basmati rice, which is having 27 varieties, and it is being cultivated in India. Basmati rice is one of the variety of rice which is being having 27 varieties, this is important again, and is being cultivated in India. Next, it is been said that in 1997 what happened, an American company got patent rights for basmati rice. It is Asian agricultural crop, it is in that India is having its own rice production. But what happened in 1997, an American company, they got the patent, they got the rights to produce it, to sell it in the market, isn't it? Now what happened? It has been said that this new varieties was developed from the crossing done between Indian basmati and semi-dwarf varieties of it. How the basmati rice is being produced? It has been said that by crossing Indian basmati as well as the semi-dwarf variety of this basmati, and basmati rice, variety of basmati rice was introduced, and this was being taken by the American company and they got the patent for this rice. Now it is their rice, now it is not Indians rice. They have got the patent there. Now without their permission we cannot use this rice. So if they are giving permission, then only we can produce it in India. So this is what the issue took place, isn't it? Next one, it has been said that now the attempt is for turmeric and neem. Now what is happening? There is an attempt for the production or taking patent for turmeric as well as neem, which is again a product of India. I think you would have understood about patent, and a patent, it is a right for an organization which is being given to the organization for the production as well as for its marketing, and if it is being related to the living organism, it is called biopatent. So next topic is related to biopiracy. It is defined as the use of bioresources by multinational companies and other organizations without proper authorization from the countries and concerned people without compensatory payment. What is biopiracy? It has been said that use of bioresources by multinational companies and the other organization, and how they are using it without taking the proper authorization from the country or the concerned people, without any compensatory payment, without taking any permission from the person or the company or the country. These people or the other country or the multinational company, they are using the resources. And here it has been said that the industrialized nations are rich in technology and finance resources, but are poor in biodiversity and traditional knowledge. It has been said that the industrialized, that is the developed nations, or we can say the industrialized nation, they are rich in technology as well as finance resources, but they are poor in biodiversity as well as the traditional knowledge about the biodiversity. And in the case of developing and underdeveloped countries, they are poor in technology, but they are rich in biodiversity and traditional knowledge. Example, India. India is an, we can say it is a developing country. So, in case of India, it is poor in technology, but it is having a rich biodiversity and traditional knowledge. Now, traditional knowledge related to bioresources can be exploited to develop modern applications. So, the traditional knowledge related to bioresources, it can be exploited by the developed, or we can say the countries who are rich in finance resources, or they are rich in technologies. They can use these bioresources and they can exploit it by using or developing modern applications. So, for this what we have to do is that already the government of India or the parliament, they have been taken or they have been issued an amendment related to all these issues which have been taken place there. And my dear children, with this we are going to wind up this session, and here this chapter is also getting over. So, my dear children, as I told you, be always on the track, do your work properly and clarify your doubts so that you can score good marks in your examination, as this is the turning point for you all. By saying this, we will be meeting in the next session. Till then, take care.